Off with me, folks, on the Boston Celtics being 2 wins away from their 18th NBA championship after taking down Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and the Dallas Mavericks in Game 2 of the NBA Finals at TD Garden. Listen, this win comes down to 3 different plays and small sections of the game in my perspective. The very first arrived at the end of the third quarter, and it all happened because of Payton Pritchard. Now, let's set up the scenario. The Celtics had been up by about 13 points with a couple minutes left in the third quarter. Things were feeling pretty good. It felt like they were going to close out that quarter with a comfortable lead and then roll that into the fourth quarter and maybe pull away for a comfortable win. Well, that didn't happen. Dallas, in those final couple minutes, rattled off a run to get back to within 6 points. It was 7 consecutive points from them to get it down from 13 down to 6. And they had momentum with a few seconds left in the quarter. But that is when Payton Pritchard, from what we are hearing from Jaylen Brown, Payton Pritchard got up and checked himself into the game for the final possession of the third quarter. Now, a couple questions might be asked as a response to what Jaylen Brown said. Number one is, why would Payton Pritchard check himself into the game with just a few seconds left in the third quarter? And number two, why would the Celtics allow Payton Pritchard to have that leeway to check himself into the game for the final few seconds of the third quarter? Well, the answers can be lumped together to answer both of those questions. And it's all about what Payton Pritchard has done at the end of quarters throughout this season, and in particular during this playoff run. Joe Mazzulla said it after the game: Payton Pritchard does not care about his stats. There are a lot of players who at the end of quarters will dribble the clock out and maybe fire one up from 45, 50 feet after the buzzer sounds so that they don't get docked with a missed shot. Payton Pritchard doesn't care about that missed shot. What he cares about is this is an opportunity to make a shot. And boy, did he make a shot to end the third quarter. This came from probably about 38 feet. He had just crossed the half-court line, pulled up from about 38 feet, ripped it up, and dropped it through the net at the buzzer to push Boston's lead back up to 9 instead of 6 heading into the fourth quarter. And that shot changed everything in terms of momentum. It got the crowd back into it. It kind of shut down what Dallas had been building for those final couple of minutes heading into that final play. And it certainly gave the Celtics a little bit of mojo heading into that fourth quarter with a 9-point lead instead of 6 with momentum on the other side. So that first play, Payton Pritchard, that 3-point shot was critical to what the Boston Celtics were able to pull off with this win at the end of this game. And that's why Joe Mazzulla and many of the other Celtics have gone to the podium after this Game 2 win and spoken specifically about what Payton Pritchard brings to the table and why he was so important in this game. And mind you, Payton Pritchard also got switched on to Luka Doncic multiple times during this game, and the Celtics stuck to their principles. They are guarding Luka one-on-one. They are guarding Kyrie one-on-one. And whoever it is, you're on an island and you got to figure it out. And tonight, on multiple occasions, it was Payton Pritchard on Luka Doncic. And Payton Pritchard did a pretty darn good job. Forced a couple of misses, made things difficult. You can't ask for much more out of the point guard coming off the bench for the Boston Celtics. So that's play number one. Play number two happened during the fourth quarter as the Celtics began to build their largest lead of the game. Jrue Holiday, who was unbelievable during this game, led the Celtics in points, was scoring at the rim at will in the dunker spot, rolling around and just finding openings along the baseline as other players were driving to the basket, and they were finding him for easy layups left and right. Remember, this is a guy who struggled scoring at the rim at the start of the season. Well, those struggles are no longer. He was awesome tonight. But this particular play occurred late in the fourth quarter as the Celtics were starting to pull away. They scored 6 straight points that were initiated by Jrue Holiday. He was applying pressure to Luka Doncic at about midcourt, forced Doncic to make a bad pass that was picked off by Derrick White, and that interception by Derrick White led to a three-pointer at the other end by Jrue Holiday. And then just seconds later after that, Derrick White added in a three-pointer of his own. So that 6-0 run, I believe, pushed the Celtics ahead by 14 points at that very moment. So that occurs with 3:34 left in the fourth quarter. Celtics up by 14, and you're feeling pretty good. You're feeling like there's no way they're going to give up a 14-point lead with 3.5 minutes to go. And in the end, we were right. But one more play still needed to be made to seal this win. And that was in the final minute. And it was Derrick White, yet again, coming up clutch with an unbelievable play that no one anticipated happening. Less than a minute to go. Dallas had sliced that 14-point deficit all the way down to 5. And then Jason Tatum drove to the basket and missed what he was trying to yam one down to shut Dallas's opportunity to win, shut that door right on them. Now, his dunk attempt went right off the back of the rim. Unfortunately, it did not go down, and the ball bounced all the way outside to the three-point line where Kyrie Irving caught the ball and started to take the ball in the opposite direction in transition with a nice transition opportunity for Dallas to potentially make this a one-possession game. So Kyrie takes it. He goes toward the center of the court, takes a couple dribbles, and he looks to his left and finds P.J. Washington streaking down the left side of the lane. Kyrie drops the ball off to P.J. Washington, who doesn't even need to dribble the ball, and there is no one, and I mean no one, between P.J. Washington and the basket. He's got an opportunity, again, to make this a one-possession game. If he makes a dunk, it's a three-point game with about 55 seconds left. But instead, Derrick White, the best shot-blocking guard in the NBA and one of the best shot-blocking guards in NBA history. A shot-blocking guard who blocked 87 shots during the regular season. Well, he blocked another one during Game 2, and this was the biggest block shot he has ever logged in his entire life. It occurred on P.J. Washington. Now, as he is going to the basket with the ball, rising up for a dunk, Derrick White is sprinting back into the play from the opposite wing. He catches up with P.J. Washington at the basket, rises up, him and Jaylen Brown in unison, and it was Derrick White who swatted the shot away, denied that dunk attempt, and that is what wound up sealing Boston's victory. The rebound attempt fell into Jrue Holiday's hands. Jaylen Brown winds up scoring on a driving layup at the other end to make it a 7-point game with about 30 seconds left, and that was all she wrote in this game. But, as I said, if Derrick White was not there to block that shot, this would have been a one-possession game with about 55 seconds left. And let's put that into context, okay? Yes, the Celtics might have scored and made it a 5-point game or a 6-point game at the other end, and we would have been comfortable. But they also could have missed, which would have put the ball in the hands of two of the most clutch players to play this game right now. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are two players that no matter how the ball is rolling for them throughout a game, I would not want the ball in their hands with a final shot to potentially tie or win a game. So Derrick White's block shot on P.J. Washington secured the fact that the Celtics did not have to face that situation during the final minute. It preserved that lead and allowed them to avoid any opportunity of Kyrie Irving or Luka Doncic making a big shot to put the pressure on, maybe force overtime, maybe tie this series up. We don't know. Derrick White made sure none of that happened. So that was the third play, and those are the three in my mind that when I think back on this game, this is what stands out about how the Celtics won. One, Payton Pritchard makes that three-pointer at the end of the third quarter to stem the tide and turn the momentum back in Boston's favor. Then late in the fourth quarter, as the Celtics are trying to build a large lead, Jrue Holiday applies pressure on Doncic, forces a turnover that winds up as an interception by Derrick White, and then White winds up finding, or one of the Celtics wind up finding Jrue Holiday for a three-pointer that's followed up by another three-pointer for a 6-0 run by Derrick White, and the Boston Celtics are ahead by 14 with 3.5 minutes left. Then lastly, Derrick White sprints back into the play. We're talking absolute top-notch elite effort to get back into the play and block that P.J. Washington dunk attempt at the rim to seal this win. So Boston, as I said at the start, winning play after winning play after winning play, finding a way to disallow Dallas from getting back into the game and potentially stealing a win at TD Garden. There's a lot to talk about after this W, and let's dive into it. We've got some comments from our fans. Luke J. today comments on his takeaways from this win. Then we've got Stocks Book Bree on what the national media has been saying about Boston throughout this series and throughout these playoffs. Stocks Book Bree has a bone to pick. And then lastly, we've got Joseph Palmieri on what the Celtics need to do to polish this series off and take home an 18th NBA championship. So with that, let's dive into our first comment from Luke J. today. All right, Luke J. today says, nice team win. Jrue was amazing. Worried about KP right now. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's concentrate on the Jrue was amazing portion, and let's give you the stats of what Jrue Holiday did during this game. 26 points to lead the Celtics. Also grabbed 11 rebounds to lead the Celtics. Dished out 3 assists, grabbed a steal, blocked a shot. Did not commit a turnover. Not a single turnover. And by the way, he played 41 minutes in this game. Third among all Celtics behind Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. He shot 11 of 14 from the field. This is a guy who, it must have hurt Joe Mazzulla any moment he had to take him off the court, because Jrue Holiday had it cooking at both ends of the court tonight. He was great on defense, as he has been throughout his entire season here for the Boston Celtics, but he's certainly taking it up a notch facing off against Luka and Kyrie in this series. He has been playing excellent defense time after time after time. And as I just mentioned in the open, he forced a turnover out of Doncic that initiated one of the most critical stretches of this game, a 6-0 run by the Celtics late in that fourth quarter to bump it up to a 14-point lead. But he wound up playing in that dunker spot tonight again, where he's running that baseline, finding the openings and the gaps in the defense as Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derrick White, all these other guys are breaking Dallas's defense down off the dribble. Well, they're giving attention to those guys who are driving to the basket and leaving Jrue Holiday wide open for layups. And Jrue Holiday finished at a high rate tonight. As I said before, he struggled at the rim early on this season. Well, those struggles are long gone. He barely missed tonight. Shot 79% from the field, 11 of 14. He was excellent at the basket, critical shots at critical times, shot 2 of 4 from distance, which, by the way, means he was 9 of 10 from inside the arc, so pretty darn good there. But just really excellent across the board, to the comment here by Luke. Jrue was amazing, and the Celtics are going to need him to be amazing the rest of the series if they want to close things out. And if he continues playing at this level, he's certainly going to have his name in the hat as a potential for a Finals MVP if the Celtics wind up polishing this off. Now, let's move on to the last comment here from Luke. Worried about KP right now. So obviously, if you haven't heard, Kristaps Porzingis, he checked out of the game late in favor of Al Horford checking back in. And as we learned after the game, he felt a little tweak in something that in his lower body. He said that it doesn't seem like it is related to the calf strain that he had been dealing with that kept him out for the majority of this postseason heading into the NBA Finals. But he made it sound like he's fine. Joe Mazzulla said he has zero concerns about Kristaps Porzingis heading into Game 3, and Kristaps certainly made it sound like he's going to do everything he can to be on the court when the Boston Celtics take the court down in Dallas for Game 3 on Wednesday night. So you shouldn't be too worried about Kristaps Porzingis. It sounded both from him and from the coaching staff like he's going to be okay. Obviously, he might be dealing with something, but he said, quote unquote, I would die out there if that's what it takes for me to be a part of an NBA championship. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't play in that Game 3 Wednesday night, but let's keep it locked on. We never know what we're going to hear over the next few days, but he's got some time to rest up and get some treatment on whatever it is that wound up sparking up during this game tonight for him. All right, Stocks Book Bree is our next commenter from X, saying Boston has the best starting lineup and they play the best defense in the league. They also have 5 guys that can hit big shots. Y'all said Mavs in 5. Laughing, crying face. These people must not have watched Boston. No way Luka and Kyrie can beat this team. Now, that last part, I'm not going to say that. Luka and Kyrie are 2 of the best players that we have seen in the past few generations in the NBA. They certainly can up it to a level where they can beat this Boston Celtics team. That's why many outside experts, quote unquote, those are air quotes for them out there, picked the Mavs to win this series because they have 2 guys who are capable of winning games and series on their own. But let's talk about these people who have picked the Mavs, some of which have picked the Mavs in 5, which at this point, I'm sorry to tell you all who made those choices, you were wrong. It's impossible at this point for the Mavs to win in 5. So my condolences for your loss. But according to Stock's book, Bree, which I agree with this commenter, you must not have watched Boston this season. Have you not paid attention to the Celtics that went 64-18 during the regular season? Have you? Have you not paid attention to the Boston Celtics who have not lost a game in over a month? The last time they lost a game was on May 9th. They are in Game 2. They are through Game 2 of the NBA Finals. And they haven't lost a game in over a month. What does that say? That's 8 straight wins in the postseason, in the conference finals, the conference semifinals. It's been over a month since they lost. So what were all these people watching? What in God's name would make them choose an opponent over the Celtics, who have been the best team in the league from start to finish? As Stock says, Boston has the best starting lineup and defense in the league. It's inarguable. They have the best top 6 in the league. It's inarguable. So all of these people who chose the Mavs and picked them in 5, again, sorry, you're wrong. At least about choosing the Mavs winning in 5. It's impossible at this point, but you must not have been watching the Boston Celtics this season. You must not have paid attention, because this team does have the best starting 5. This team has the best top 6. It has a list of 6 players who all can come through in the clutch and have come through in the clutch at different stages of this season and this playoff run. That's the only way you get to 78-20 on the season. That's almost an 80% winning percentage. Are you kidding me? It's incredible what this team has accomplished, and they are 2 wins shy of marking themselves down in the conversation as the best, one of the best teams to ever play the game of basketball. And listen, some people are going to say, yeah, they missed these players as opponents during their playoff run. They weren't that deep, blah, blah. I mean, you can't argue the numbers. The Celtics right now are 78-20, one of the best point differentials in the history of the league, and they haven't lost a playoff game in over a month. You cannot argue those stats. So let's see if the Celtics can close this out, and at that point, everyone who's been rooting against them and talking down upon them, you're going to be tough sledding after that. All right, last up, our last comment of the night is coming from Joseph Palmieri, saying, honestly, I'm thinking play defense and win this series. Move the ball. Boston won't shoot as bad as it did tonight. Again, I think Tatum likes playing on the road. I got him going for 30-plus in Dallas, and we win Game 3 big. All right, let's go through this piece by piece. Let's start out with the defense. The Celtics have been excellent in this series defensively. Tonight, obviously, the Mavs only scored 98 points. They did shoot almost 48% from the field, but the three-point line has not been their friend through 2 games of this series. And that's the only way they're going to win games. is if Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving both play well and their role players shoot well from long distance. Well, tonight they were 9 of 26 from distance, 23%. And that's because Boston's defense is locked onto those guys, because Boston's defense is not sending double teams at those two great players that Dallas has on the floor. So that's number one. And Joseph is saying that if the Celtics continue to play defense at that level, they are going to win this series. And it's hard for me and probably anyone else out there to disagree with that at this point. His second comment here is move the ball. Boston isn't going to shoot as bad as it did tonight. Tonight, the Celtics shot only 45%, 26% from long distance, 10 of 39. That's not very good. That is not what they typically do. Yet, despite shooting only 26% from three-point range, the Boston Celtics led by 14 points with a few minutes left in this game. So that goes to show you the level that they are playing everywhere else, that they're able to be ahead by 14 points with a few minutes left, despite the fact that they hadn't been shooting it very well from long distance. And if you look at the numbers, Brad Stevens has always used this term, water will find its level. Well, the Boston Celtics have had a pretty elite offense throughout this season. In fact, the most efficient offense in the history of basketball. So having a couple games where they don't quite shoot it as well as you would like, I got to think that the water is going to find its level during Game 3 coming up on Wednesday night, and that certainly includes Jason Tatum. He was 6 of 16 during Game 1. Tonight in Game 2, he's 6 of 22, so not shooting the ball well from Jason Tatum, but he was awesome distributing the ball. A game-high 12 assists. Again, that's a game high. That's more than Luka Doncic had. A game-high 12 assists, also scored 18 points to go along with 9 rebounds. He's the first Celtic to reach those numbers since Larry Bird in the NBA Finals. So a pretty darn good game from him, despite the fact that he didn't shoot well. But this all gets back to the fact that the Celtics have not quite played up to the level that they can. They have not put forth their best effort yet, and yet they're still up 2-0 in this series. Jason Tatum's going to shoot the ball better. The Boston Celtics are going to shoot the ball better. Yet here they are, sitting with a 2-0 series lead, heading out to Dallas for that Game 3 coming up Wednesday night. That's it for us tonight. That game, again, on Wednesday night is coming up at 8:30 Eastern. You can catch the game on ABC. And I appreciate everyone for tuning into this podcast tonight, either if you're listening on a podcast platform or you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who sent in their comments to be a part of this podcast, and we will be back here again Wednesday night after whatever happens down in Dallas. I will be there. I'll be watching the game live, and then I'll be back podcasting from the hotel room right after that. So make sure you tune in. Send in your comments after the game. I can't wait to see what you have to say. And hopefully it's the Boston Celtics inching one win closer to their 18th NBA championship. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you Wednesday night.